Hola, he estado probando una herramienta de IA en preliminar para hacer un pequeño podcast sobre lo que es el marco curricular común de la educación media superior, ahorita que tanto está en boga. Lo interesante de esto es que te puede crear un pequeño podcast y este elemento lo grabas aquí con Google. Voy a pasarme al escenario. Ok. Bueno, aquí lo tenemos. Subí las progresiones de pensamiento matemático, una planeación, el programa Aula Escuela Comunidad, así como la articulación en su versión 2 del marco curricular común. Y veámoslo, está bastante interesante en el sentido de cómo es que hace el análisis precisamente de esto. El chat está en inglés, por lo que te invito a que le pongas los subtítulos y que haga la traducción en YouTube.
Diving into some fascinating stuff today. You've been sharing some really interesting work on education in Mexico. And
I got to say, these documents have really got me thinking.
right, yeah.
Yeah. We're not just talking about, usual textbook stuff. This is about schools tackling real problems.
Mm-hmm.
The kind of stuff that's happening right outside their doors.
Absolutely. Getting into the thick of it.
Exactly. And there's this program.
It's called Programa Aula, Escuela y Comunidad, PEC for short.
Catchy.
Right. But it's more than just a name.
I'd imagine so. What's the story there?
Well, imagine classrooms becoming like these little hubs of positive change.
Okay, I like where this is going.
And what's really cool is it's the students driving this change. They're the ones coming up with solutions to problems they see in their own communities.
Wow. It's very hands-on.
Very. And they're not just talking about hypotheticals. We're talking real solutions, real impact.
That's fantastic. Do you have any specific examples we can dig into?
Oh, absolutely. In fact, you had that one story queued up, something about quiero mi moto.
Quiero mi moto, pero amo mi vida. I want a motorcycle, but I love my life.
Yeah, I've got that one right here.
That title really grabbed me. What's the story behind it?
So this is a great example of PIAC in action. Students in this town, Timoac, Morelos, they actually produced a podcast.
A podcast? What about?
Motorcycle safety, which is a really big deal in their community, apparently.
Ah, I see. Making it relevant to their lives.
Exactly. And what's fascinating to me is how this one project, this podcast, manages to touch on so many different subjects.
More than just how to use a microphone, huh? Way more. It's like woven into the fabric of their learning. I mean, think
And
about
they're
it.
doing research, right? They're writing, they're presenting information. Those are all core skills you need for Spanish language arts.
True, but they're not just writing an essay for a teacher to grade.
Exactly. They're communicating with their community, a real audience.
It makes it much more engaging, I bet.
Oh, for sure. And the learning doesn't stop there. They're picking up all these digital skills too, how to record, edit, maybe even some social media stuff to get the word out. Those are essential nowadays.
Yeah, no matter what you end up doing in life, those digital skills are invaluable.
Right. And it's not just about, technical skills either. This project pushes students to grapple with some pretty heavy stuff too. We're talking about risk, responsibility, even death potentially.
Whoa, that took a turn.
Right. But it's real life. And these kids are diving headfirst into these complex ethical issues. And for me, those are the moments where PIC really shines. Those aha moments where the learning goes beyond the textbook and connects with something deeper.
So it's about giving them the tools and the space to really think critically about their world.
Exactly. And encouraging them to engage with those big questions.
It's really incredible how PE takes something as simple as like making a podcast
and turns it into this amazing learning opportunity.
Right. It's not just about the final product, it's the process.
Totally. And speaking of process, one thing that really struck me
was how much PE emphasizes critical thinking.
Oh, absolutely.
But I'm curious, how do they actually put that into practice?
Well, it's about giving students the tools they need to really analyze information, right? To form their own opinions, engage in thoughtful discussions.
So it's more than just memorizing facts and figures.
Way more. It's about teaching them to think for themselves, to question things.
Which is so important these days, with so much information coming at us from all directions.
Exactly. You need those critical thinking skills to navigate that landscape. And what's cool is how PEC weaves those skills into all sorts of subjects, even ones you might not expect.
You're right. Like when I saw those documents about math, pensamiento matematico to second, and pensamiento matematico the third.
I have to admit, I was a little surprised. I mean, logarithmic functions to tackle illiteracy, that's not a connection you make every day.
It does seem a bit out there at first, right?
It does. So, how does that work exactly?
Well, it's about using math as a tool to analyze real-world data. In this case, they were looking at illiteracy rates over time.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection here.
Right. And a logarithmic scale, it can help visualize those changes more effectively, especially when you're dealing with big variations in the data.
So instead of just being some abstract concept in a textbook, math becomes a way to understand and address a real social problem.
Exactly. And that's where PE really shines, in my opinion. It takes those aha moments a step further by giving students the tools to actually do something about it.
It's like they're learning by doing, but on a whole other level.
Right. It's about empowering them to make a real difference in their communities.
It's clear that PEIC has the potential to really shake things up in education.
For sure, but I imagine it's not always easy to put something like this into practice.
Right, there are always challenges, no matter how good the idea is.
Totally. So what are some of the hurdles PEIC has faced?
Well, one of the documents you shared actually dives into that very question. It's Programa Ala, Escuela Comunidad, PEIP, 2-day edition.pdf, I believe.
Yeah, that one rings a bell.
And it brings up some valid points about the potential roadblocks.
Like what? Give me an example.
Well, resources for one.
That's always a big one, unfortunately.
Right. PEIC often needs extra funding, for materials, training, community outreach.
It's an investment for sure.
Exactly. And then there's the professional development side of things. You need teachers who are on board with this new way of teaching.
Because it is a pretty big shift from traditional methods, isn't it?
It is, and that requires training, support, and not just a one-time thing either. It has to be ongoing.
Makes sense. You can't just throw teachers in the deep end and expect them to swim.
Exactly. And it's not just about the teachers either.
Right. You need everyone on board.
Everyone. Administrators, parents, the community as a whole, they all need to buy into this approach for it to truly work.
It's like a whole ecosystem, right? Everyone plays a part.
Exactly. It takes a village, as they say. But when it does work, when all those pieces fall into place,
the results can be amazing.
They can be transformative. Imagine a generation of students who aren't just equipped with knowledge, but who are also active, engaged citizens.
Problem solvers, critical thinkers, collaborators.
Exactly. And those are the skills that build strong communities.
And a brighter future, I'd say.
I think so too. And that's what's so inspiring about PEIC. It's not just about tweaking the education system, it's about empowering individuals and communities to create positive change.
It's a really powerful idea.
It is. And it makes me wonder, how can we take these principles, this idea of real world problem solving, of connecting different subjects, of working with the community, and apply them in different contexts?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Because at its core, PEIC is about more than just education, right? It's about building a better future.
It is. So if you're listening, we want to hear from you. What local issues come to mind that could benefit from a PEIC style approach? What unexpected connections between subjects can you? How can we bridge the gap between what we learn and the problems we face in our own community? This deep dive into PEIC has shown us that change is possible, but it takes all of us working together to make it happen. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey, and here's to creating a brighter future, one classroom, one community at a time.
Bien, como se habrán escuchado, pues, o leído, según sea el caso, es bastante interesante la forma en que, en este caso, la IA puede hacer el análisis precisamente de la documentación que se le está pasando. Aunque yo aquí titulé como análisis del pensamiento matemático, en general, está tomando solamente el aspecto del pensamiento matemático 3 y pone así de manera muy breve y rápida en la parte de la tasa de razón de cambio y cómo poderlo aplicar, y también le habla algo sobre la parte del análisis de la función logarítmica y cómo es que puede ser utilizada para casos ya un poco más situados, como lo que se busca con el programa Escuela Comunidad, con el proyecto Escuela Comunidad. Ahora, honestamente, lo acabo de ver en un video hace rato, no recuerdo el youtuber, que es un youtuber bastante importante en el sentido de, pues, de videos. Y a ver, te busco en mi historial. Aquí aquí está .cbs Lab, que fue donde acabo de ver cómo lo va trabajando. Y la verdad, me animé a probarlo en este sentido para que hiciera el análisis, no únicamente de texto, como ya en otras herramientas de IA que se ponen archivos PDF y puede uno hasta incluso generar algún tipo de conversación con la herramienta, como por ejemplo aquí podemos preguntar alguna situación con relación a esta parte, ¿no? Pero lo más interesante, como lo menciona en el video de .cbs, es que precisamente que se puede generar un podcast. En este caso, aún en la parte preliminar, solamente se hace en idioma inglés. Pero bueno, finalmente esto va a ir avanzando y pues bueno, sería un recurso más que se podía utilizar en alguna otra área. Bueno, no tengo mucho que comentar realmente. Quiero analizar esto un poquito más. Solamente quería mostrar esto ya aplicado a pues algo de interés. Pues muchas gracias, que estén bien. Espero que me estén escuchando. Nos vemos pronto.